Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Shabbat Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to say all praises to Yahweh, but Hashem and Mashiach Yahushai. I'd like to send that blessings out to all the Akim that are pushing this truth out in the four corners of the earth. I'd like to send that blessings out to all the Akim that are making pilgrimage to Zion 3 times in the year to the 3 pilgrimage feasts in which the Most High has commanded all the men of Israel to appear before him. And I'd also like to send that blessings out to all the Akhbaf that are raising up the children in the way of the Most High, so that when they grow older, they do not depart from the way of the Most High. Right? So before we get into what we're talking about today, which is going to be the Hellidays known as Christmas and New Year's, right? So first we're going to go to the 3 feasts in which the Most High has commanded all the men of Israel to appear before him, because these are the feast days we should know about, not about these feast days that have been brought into the earth, that have nothing to do with the Creator. Right, so Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 16, that's where we're going first, as usual. Right, so read that for me, Ak.
Deuteronomy chapter 16 and reading from verse 16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty.
Right, and they shall not appear before the Most High empty. Right, 3 times in the year, all the men of Israel, right, are meant to appear before the Most High. This was our culture. This was our these were our instructions, right? And if we want to return back to that, that's what we need. This is one of the things that we need to be doing or striving to do, right? Because if you can't do it, that's one thing, but then not even thinking about it is another thing, because that's why the scripture says that the ox knows of his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doesn't know, and Israel doesn't consider, right? Because they're not even considering it, right? They're not even considering it, right? And that's what we need to get to understand, right? Which is gonna go, which is what we're gonna be delving into when we're doing a live tomorrow, right? On Zion versus the Abrahamic houses. So if you want to check that out, that live will be going on tomorrow, and we'll be live with Haushua and Mario, right, tomorrow, right? But that's a whole nother live, right? So let's go to Exodus chapter 34. Not 34, sorry, yeah. 23 first, and then 14, yeah. 23 and 14 first, and then we'll go 34. Right, so read it for me. Yeah.
3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee, in the time appointed of the month Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. 3 times in the year all thy males shall appear before the Lord God.
Right, so again it says the exact same thing. It says that 3 times in the year the men of Israel are meant to appear before the Most High. And it says the feast of unleavened bread, right? It says the feast of harvest, which is talking about the feast of weeks, because that's when the feast of weeks happens, during the wheat harvest, right? And then it talks about the feast of ingathering, which is talking about tabernacles. It's just another name for it, right? So again, it says the same thing. There's no difference. It's all the same, right? And it's not. This is the only time it says it as well. This is not the set. It's not only those 2 times. It's said 3 times, right? So let's go to Exodus chapter 34, right? Exodus chapter 34. And if you want to know what the feasts are, right, it tells you again in the same in this same chapter, right? All you got to do is read from verse 18, right? So again, feast of unleavened bread, right? I can't even highlight it. Hang on, it's not even highlighted. Feast of unleavened bread, right? Then it says, and thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of the wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. So it says the exact same thing, but the points we want to highlight here is verse 23 to verse 24, because the Most High tells us what he's going to do when we start keeping these feasts, right? So let's read verse 23 and verse 24.
Exodus chapter 34 and reading from verse 23. Thrice in the year shall all your men children appear before the Lord God,
right?
the God of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
For I will cast out the nations
From
before thee,
mm-hmm.
and enlarge thy
Thy
borders. Neither shall any man desire thy land, when thou shalt go up to appear before the Lord thy God thrice in the year.
Right, so when we start to go up and keep these feasts, the Most High is saying that He's going to make the land undesirable to them, right? And He's already started to do that because He's made war go on down there, right? That's why you got so much war down in the so-called Middle East, because the Most High is making it unsettled there, right? So the people don't feel comfortable there, right? So that they don't want to live there, right? And He's going to cast them out, but we have to first start to go back, start to visit our homeland, start to visit our home. We can't say that's our home. I have never visited there, right? And if it's a case where you can't make it because of monetary issues, because of the system, right? The system's keeping you from going, right? That doesn't mean you can't talk about it. That doesn't mean you can't find out where you're meant to be. It doesn't mean you can't find it out, right? It doesn't mean you can't teach about it, or you can't wake people up to the truth. You can. That's just a part. That is a part of the work, right? And then that will be your part in doing that work, right? Because you might tell somebody that can make it up there, and then they could be integral in doing something up there. You don't know that, but you should be striving to do something in regards to it. Striving to do something in regards to it, and if you can't make it, again, just pray to the Most High. Maybe the Most High will make a way for you. Right? The Most High will make a way. Right? But you're never going to know if you don't ask. The scripture says, ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door shall be open. Seek and you will find. Right? But all of them have action words. Knock, seek, and ask. Knock, seek, and ask. You have to do something to get something. Because you don't just receive something. You got to ask and then you receive. Right? A door doesn't just get opened. You got to knock and then the door will be opened. Right? You're not just going to find something. You got to seek and then you'll find it. Right? There's action behind everything. And that's why the Most High says, when you return and you're keeping these 3 feasts, then stipulations, man, then I'm gonna cast out the nations before you and make the land undesirable to them. Right? The Most High says that when these things are come upon us, the blessings and the curse, and we're scattered amongst all the nations, when we bethink ourselves, when we remember and we turn back to Him, then He'll return our captivity. Right? Because all of those are a part of asking, seeking, and finding. Asking, seeking, and knocking. Asking, seeking, knocking. Because when you're in captivity, we're asking, yo, why is all this stuff happening to us? Right? Then you go seeking. Right? And we should be seeking for the Father and where His crib is. And where we're meant to be. Right? And then when you get there, then you knock on the door. Right? And the Most High will open the door. Right? But unless we go there, right? Because the Most High has his name set there. The Most High says His Spirit dwells there. Right? So when you're there, He's more likely to answer your prayer. Why? Because you've gone there. That's why when Solomon said that if your people have sinned and you carry them away captive, he says if they pray towards this place, then hear their prayer. Because you got to still, even in the land of your captivity, you got to pray towards that place.
Can't.
So it shows the integral part of Zion, or the importance of Zion. Very important. But a lot of our people aren't talking about Zion or thinking about building Zion, right? And that's the problem. The problem is that the Most High's house is laying waste, and people are asking, why are we not prospering? Why are we not progressing? You know why? Because the Most High has made it clear that while His house lies waste, it's not time for us to dwell safely.
Mhm.
It's not time for us to be okay. The time for us to be okay is when His house is established. Because when His house is established, then we'll have our protection, and that will be His house, because that's our sanctuary. That will be our sanctuary. So 3 times in a year, the scriptures make it clear all the men of Israel are meant to appear before the Most High Power Man. 3 times in the year. Very, 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 very important. Right? But let's get into what we're going to be talking about today, right? Because people are in that so-called festive spirit, that demonic spirit, right, of so-called Christmas, right? What they call Christmas today, right? When it's a culmination of um, many different practices, right? All stemming from Babylon, right? All stemming from Babylon, right? And what we're gonna do is, right, because we've gone through like things before, so certain things you might have heard before, um, right? But we've got a couple of other excerpts today, right, to go through with you, right, to further prove the pagan origins of Christmas, right? And New Year's is packed in with that because it's all around the same time, right? It's all around the same time, right? And that's why they always say, um, have a good Christmas and a happy New Year, right? Because all like bundled into one thing, right? And they have that whole like kind of like vibe on them for that entire week, right? So let me pull up the slides, right? So the title is Christmas and New Year's Day. So just get me Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 1 to verse 4. Jeremiah chapter 10. Salakia. Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 1 to verse 4.
Jeremiah chapter 10, reading from verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
Right, so hear the word of the Most High, which is speaking to you, O house of Israel. So who is he talking to? He's talking to the Israelites, right? He's talking to us, right? Read on.
O house of Israel, thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven,
right?
For the heathen are dismayed at them.
Right, so it says, don't learn the way of the heathen, don't learn their customs, don't learn their cultures, right? Don't learn their ways, right? And don't be disheartened or don't be sad when you see signs happening in the heaven, because they get scared at them. They get scared, right? That's why you got people doing horoscopes and believing in star signs, when the Most High never made them for that reason. He made them for like traveling or to find certain places, or for to see it's like signs of the times, so you know what time it is, right? It was for signs and for times, and that's what it was there for. It wasn't for you're a such and such, so today this is gonna happen to you, right? And then not only that, they get dismayed at certain signs anyway, like blood red moons. Like they have superstitions, right, for certain things like that, and that's what it's talking about. Don't have those superstitions. The Most High tells you what those things are for and what He set them up there for, right? So you have to understand why He set them there, and then you'll know why they're there, and you won't be dismayed at seeing those things. You'll see a red moon, and you'll be like, okay, it's a red moon, right? You'll see a river turning blood red, right? And you'll just be like, well, it's just a river that's turned blood red. It's a sign. I just know it's the end times now. The scripture spoke about it, right? So many earthquakes going on everywhere. People are afraid. Oh, why is there so many earthquakes going on? You know that it's a sign. The scripture said that there's going to be earthquakes in diverse places, right? But don't be dismayed at the signs of heaven, man. Don't be dismayed. Don't be dismayed, right? The heathen are, but you can't be. Why? Because you should know why these things are happening, right? Verse 3.
For the customs of the people are vain.
Right, the customs of the people are vain because you don't get nothing out of the stuff they do. Right, when they keep Christmas, they don't nothing good comes out of it. Nothing good comes out of it. Right, when we used to go up to the house and we used to give our offering and our and the sheaves and stuff, that used to go into the storehouse, right, and that used to be and that used to be given to the poor. Right, so something good came out of the things that we were doing. Something good came out of the things that we were doing. Right, but their customs are vain, man. Their customs are vain. You don't get anything out of doing what they do. Right? So it says, for what?
For the customs of the people are vain.
For
one cutteth a tree out of the forest.
Right, because one cuts a tree out of the forest. Right, read on.
The work of the hands of the workman with the axe.
Right, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe, right?
They deck it with silver and gold.
They deck it with silver and gold.
They deck it with silver and with gold, and they fasten it with nails and with hammers, that
right.
It move not.
Right, apologies for the picture covering the text. Yeah, when I've uploaded it on here, for some reason it's done that, but on the actual slides it doesn't look like that. But yeah, so there it says with nails and with hammers that it move not. Right, but there you can see it says they deck it. Sorry, with silver and with gold. Right, that's what they do now. They deck the trees with silver and with gold. What's it alluding to? The Christmas tree, man. The Christmas tree. At one point, Christmas was even banned in England and America, and these are like 2 notices from there. 2 notices. The first one's one from England or Britain, and the second one's from America. The bigger one's from America, right? But both of them are saying that Christmas was a pagan feast, and you couldn't give gifts or celebrate Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It said it was forbidden for keeping those pagan practices. Right? So they know and they knew, but eventually they just decided, you know what, we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it. Right? We're gonna let everybody keep it. Right? And that's what they did, and that's why it's everywhere now. It's prolific. People that aren't even in Christianity are keeping this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Even though it wasn't a Christian thing anyway, it was a Babylonian thing, right? So it says here at the top, right, in Warner Keller's The Bible History, you can read that December 25th is referred to in documents as Christmas Day in 324 AD for the first time. The Roman Emperor Justinian in the 6th century AD recognized it as an official holiday. Right, so that's when it was recognized as official holiday, and the time when it was recognized as Christmas Day was 324 AD. So remember, it had different names previously, right? Because the Romans were keeping what you call Saturnalia as well, and that's at the same time, right? And those customs are within Christmas Day, right? Within Christmas Day, right? So it says here in Michael Grant's History of Rome, it is said the Emperor Aurelian built a temple for the unconquerable sun as the main point of their religious system. The birthday of this deity was celebrated through to December 25th and was later changed to the birth of Christ, right? So this isn't the only person or the only historian or only author that said that, right? Because we're going to go to the 2 Babylons, right? And we're going to read an excerpt from there in a moment. Right, once we've got through this, and I'm going to go through a few of the excerpts from there because I pulled out certain things. If you want to go and read more of it, there's lots in there. There's lots in there that basically show you that Christmas is a pagan holiday, right? So then it says here that tree you're putting up in your house was originally used to celebrate the winter solstice by the Egyptians to honor their god, right? It says Celts decorated their temples to signify everlasting life and their God too. Right? And their God too. right? And this is all in history. It's all in history. It's all there for you to see. And all that's happening is that these traditions have trickled down from Babylon into all these different cultures, into all these different nations, and they've just kept it with different names, right? With different names, and that's what they try to do with us. That's what they try to do with our writings. They try to intercalate their things into our writings, right? So it says, while Yule was the original name of the winter solstice in parts of northern Europe, Yule also means wheel, which was used as a pagan symbol of the sun. It says the Yule was symbolic of the pagan sun god, Mithras being born. Yule logs were burned, so like yeah, Yule logs were burned to honor the sun. The Yule was also burned for 12 days. Sound familiar? Because it should do. It should sound familiar. Why? Because that's where they get the 12 days of Christmas from, right? Then it says here, December the 25th was also known in Rome as Dies Natalis Solus Invicti, meaning birth of the unconquered sun, right? Birth of the unconquered sun. So that's what they're celebrating when they're celebrating December the 25th. For so the Messiah was here. He never said to remember his birth, he said to remember his death, right? And we know that he wasn't born in the dead of winter, right? We know that much, right? And it says here, did you know Mithras was their sun idol, and the Statue of Liberty was made in her image? This was given as a gift from the French to America, right? And it says again here, Christmas was banned in England and America in the 1600s, but it says here it was given as a gift from the French to America. So you know these nations are the same people, man. The nations are the same people, right? Just living in different places, right? Because the Edomites that are in America are just descendants of the Europeans, that went over there, right? So let's continue, right? So part 3, right? So it says Santa Claus is a corruption of the name Saint Nicholas, who was a Roman Catholic bishop. In Encyclopedia Britannica, volume 19, page 648 to 649, it reads that he was a saint honored by the Greeks and Latins on December 6th. On the eve of St. Nicholas, it was a custom to give presents in secret. Sound familiar? Right? Because that's what they do. Secret Santa, right? And it says, I bet it does, because it was all transferred to Christmas Day. All of this was transferred to Christmas Day. Right? It was all transferred to Christmas Day because that's what they say Santa Claus does, gives gifts in secret. Right? So then it says here, the Romans marked the day Saturnalia, which was the most important celebration to them. Which was the most important celebration to them. It was a lawless celebration held between the 17th and the 25th of December. On this day, Romans did all manner of wickedness, and no one would be prosecuted for killing, raping, or theft, or anything against the law. So it was just reveling. It was just doing madness. Right? That's what that day was about. Right? It was about doing whatever you want to do, and it kind of sounds like what they're trying to push with the purge now. Right? That's what it sounds like. Right? Because that's what it is, pretty much. That's what it is, pretty much. Right? And it says here that Christmas originated from the time of Nimrod, whose name was derived from the Hebrew marad, meaning he rebelled. Because Nimrod was rebellious, that's why he had them build the Tower of Babel, or the Tower of Babel, however you want to pronounce it. Right? And it says here, when Nimrod died, his wife said that a full-grown evergreen tree grew overnight from a dead tree stump. She was pregnant with her son Tammuz, whom she said was Nimrod reborn, and she later married, which symbolized Nimrod springing forth into new life as a spirit. December 25th was the birthday of Nimrod, so they're celebrating Nimrod's birth, right? Because they said he became like the sun, and that's why when you go into like these other when you go into these other like cultures like Egypt, right? When it comes to the 25th of December, it's always about the sun. It's always about the sun because it's the same thing. All they've done is remixed it. Right? All they've done is remixed it, but it's the same thing. Right? And all they've done is try to put our Messiah in there. Right? So now this is where we're going to go into the two Babylons. Right? We're going to go into the two Babylons, right? So the book is called The Two Babylons. Right, let me get the author's name so you know what the author's name is. I forgot his name. Alexander Hisler. Alexander Hisler. I think it is. Yeah, Alexander Hisler. Right? And the book's called The Two Babylons, right? And it goes into the pagan origins of many of these holidays that are out there, right? So-called holidays, right? Which we know are Hellidays, right? Or Holidays, right? So it says here, right? So it says the festivals of Rome are innumerable, right? And we know that because they had so many demonic days. It's unbelievable, right? So then it says, but 5 of the most important may be singled out for elucidation, which just means to make it clearer, right? So he names out 5, right? Christmas Day, Lady Day, Easter, the Nativity of Saint John, and the Feast of Assumption, right? But at the moment, what we're focusing on is Christmas, right? So it says each of these can be proved to be Babylonian. Each one of them can be proved to be Babylonian, and we've done Easter before as well. We know that's Babylonian, right? So it says each of these can be proved to be Babylonian. So we know that they come from Babylon, right? And it says, and first, as to the festival in honor of the birth of Christ, or Christmas, how comes it that that festival was connected with the 25th of December? There is not a word in the scriptures about the precise day of his birth, or the time, of the play, or the time of the year when he was born. What is recorded there implies that what time soever his birth took place, it could not have been the 25th of December. At the time that the angel announced his birth to the shepherds of Bethlehem, they were feeding their flocks by night in the open fields. Now, no doubt, the climate of Palestine is not so severe as the climate of this country, but even there, though the heat of the day be considerable, the cold of the night from December to February is very piercing. And it was not the custom for the shepherds of Judea to watch their flocks in the open fields later than about the end of October, right? So during the time when Gabriel announced the birth of the Messiah, right? People were out. They weren't looking after their sheep in the field at the time. Why? Because it was cold. It was cold in the winter. Is what they're showing you, right? So it says, it is in the last degree incredible then that the birth of Christ could have taken place at the end of December. There is great unanimity among commentators on this point. Beside Barnes, Doddridge, Lightfoot, Joseph Scaliger, and Jennings in his Jewish Antiquities, who are all of the opinion that December the 25th could not be the right time of our Lord's nativity. The celebrated Joseph Mead pronounces a decisive opinion to the same effect. After a long careful disquisition on the subject, among other arguments, he adduces the following. Right, at the birth of Christ, every woman and child was to go to be taxed at the city whereto they belonged, whither some had long journeys, but the middle of winter was not fitting for such a business, especially for women with child and children to travel in. Therefore, Christ could not have been born in the depth of winter. Again, at the time of Christ's birth, the shepherds lay abroad watching their flocks in the night time, but this was not likely to be in the middle of winter. And if any shall think that the winter wind was not so extreme in these parts, let him remember the words of Messiah in the gospel. Pray that your flight be not in winter. If the winter was so bad a time to flee in, it seems no fit time for shepherds to light in the fields in, and women and children to travel in. Right, so they're deducing that when Messiah was saying pray that your flight be not in winter, because it's not good conditions to be traveling in.
Mhm.
right? And in turn, it's not a good time to be watching your flocks actually being in the field in the night. Why? Because it's cold in that time, right? And the conditions aren't right for you to just be standing outside, right? So then it says, indeed, it is admitted by the most learned and candid writers of all parties that the day of our Lord's birth cannot be determined, right? And that within the Christian church, no such festival, such as Christmas, was heard of until the 3rd century. So remember, I said like 290 something AD. Let me get it. Part 6 in it. So yeah, 3rd century. So it's 324 AD, right? 3rd century, right? That's when it was first heard of as Christmas Day, right? So it says until the end of the third, well, no, until the 3rd century, and that not until the 4th century was far advanced did it gain much observance. So obviously over time, the observance of it built up. More and more people started to keep it, right? Started to keep it, right? So let's continue, right? It says, how then did the Romish Church fix on December the 25th as Christmas Day? Why thus, long before the 4th century, and long before the Christian era itself, the festival was celebrated among the heathen at that precise time of year in honor of the birth of the son of the Babylonian Queen of Heaven, right? Which we just read about Semiramis, right? And we read about Nimrod, right? And her son, and their son, Tammuz, right? And it says, and it may be fairly presumed that in order to conciliate the heathens, in order to appease the people, right, and to swell the number of nominal adherents to Christianity, the same festival was adopted by the Roman Church, giving it only the name of Christ. So they put the name of the Messiah on it, even though that's not even his name, but they put that on there and try to intercalate him into it. Right? It says this tendency on the part of Christians to meet paganism halfway was very early developed. So Christianity is deeply rooted in paganism. We know this, right? We know this, right? It says we find Tertullian even in this day, even in his day, about the year 230, bitterly lamenting the inconsistency of the disciples of Christ in this respect, and contrasted it with strict fidelity of the pagans to their own superstition. By us, says he, who are strangers to Sabbaths and new moons and festivals once acceptable to God, the Saturnalia, the feast of January, and Brumalia and Matronia are now frequented. Gifts are carried to and fro. New Year's Day presents are made with din. Right, so you see, they were doing it back then. The New Year's Day, they were doing it back then in the dead of winter. Right, it says Saturnalia and the feast of January because the month January was named January to reverence the Roman god Janus. That's what it was there to do. Right, that's what it was there to do. And they were giving gifts on that day. Right, it says New Year's Day presents are made with din, and sports and banquets are celebrated with opera. Oh, how much more faithful are the heathen to their religion, who take special care to adopt no solemnity from the Christians. Right, upright men strive to stem the tide, but in spite of all their efforts, the apostasy went on till the church, with the exception of a small remnant, was submerged on the pagan superstition. That Christmas was originally a pagan festival is beyond all doubt. Mm-hmm. One more time, that Christmas was originally a pagan festival is beyond all reason or beyond all doubt. It's beyond all doubt that it was originally a pagan festival, right? Because our writings are submerged in pagan superstition, right? And that's all Christianity is. It's our writings merged with paganism, right? Our writings mixed with paganism and Roman customs and ideals. That's what it is, right? If you want to go far back, Babylonian customs and ideals, right? So let's continue. right? And it says here the time of the year and ceremonies with which it is still celebrated prove its origin, right? Because it's kept around the same time of the year that they kept the birthday of Nimrod, the birthday of the Egyptian god, the birthday of the Roman god, right? And it says to prove its origin in Egypt, the son of Isis, the Egyptian title for the Queen of Heaven. So it's the same deity, just a different name, right? The Egyptian title for the Queen of Heaven was born at this very time, about the time of the winter solstice. The very name by which Christmas is popularly known among ourselves, your day, proves at once its pagan and Babylonian origin. Yule is the Chaldean name for infant or little child, right? And as the 25th of December was called by our pagan Anglo-Saxon ancestors Yule Day or Child's Day, and the night that preceded it, Mother Night, long before they came in contact with Christianity, that sufficiently proves its real character, right? So it's showing you that the customs of Christmas Day, right, line up heavily with those feast days that they kept, those pagan feast days that they kept, right? And it proves its character because although it's got the name Christmas now, it has nothing to do with the Messiah. It has nothing to do with him, right? So then it says here, the Christmas tree, now so common among us, was equally common in pagan Rome and pagan Egypt. In Egypt, that tree was the palm tree. In Rome, it was the fir. The palm tree denoting the pagan Messiah as Baal Tamar. The fir referring to him as Baal Berith. Right? It's all the same customs, just in different places, on the different people. Right? And it says here, the mother of Adonis, the sun god, and great mediator to the divinity, was mystically said to have been changed into a tree, and when in that state to have brought forth her divine son, right? So you can see that the history behind it, right, or the superstitions behind it, is what brought about these pagan ideologies. Because it's the same thing where Nimrod is supposed to have it should have meant to be a stump, and the roots meant to have shot up out of it, and that's meant to have been Nimrod. Right, it's all connected. It's all connected. Right, and if you want to read that, that's in the two Babylons, and it's chapter 3, section 1. Right, and that goes into depth. This is just scratching the surface on it. Right, it goes into depth into certain things and how they know the pagan origins of that day. Right, it goes well into depth. Right, but during that time, they also now, like, because like it was talking about, it's talking about New Year's in there, right? How they were giving gifts around New Year's too, because all around the same kind of thing, and it's all connected. It's all connected, right? So let's look at New Year's Day, right? So it says here for the Romans, New Year's Day was a very important day. But the most interesting fact is that originally the Roman year didn't start on January 1st, but in March, because they knew the year began in spring. Mm-hmm. They knew the year began in spring. Like we knew the year began in spring. But no, they changed it into the dead of winter. Why? To reverence their God. Right? And it says this was mainly because March was the month dedicated to Mars, the Roman god of war, which is also believed to be the divine father of Romulus, the founder of Rome. Due to extraordinary circumstances in wartime, in the year 153 BC, the consul Quintus Fulvius Nobilior exceptionally moved New Year's Day to January 1st for the first time in history. However, it was Julius Caesar in 46 BC with his Julian calendar who permanently established the holiday on January 1st. So that's when Julius Caesar was around, when his calendar was the main calendar that they were using, he permanently established it on January the 1st. Right, because now we know that we've got the Gregorian calendar. That's the one the heathen have put out there. Right, and pretty much some of the other countries have their own calendars, but they still use the Gregorian one. Right, showing who's in charge on the earth, because people are still using their calendar. People are still using their calendar, even if they're not a part of their culture. Right. Also, another fact to know as well is that at one point, Rome didn't even have Rome took out 2 months from the year, and they only had 10 months in the year. Right? They only had 10 months in the year. For some reason or another, they took 2 months out. Right? And then they realized that it messed up the cycle, so they ended up putting the 2 months back. Right? So continuing on, right? It says here, the beginning of the year was dedicated to a very peculiar Roman god, Janus. According to the mythology, Janus was the two-faced god of doors. In fact, his name Janus comes from Inuana, door in Latin. Beginnings and passages. That is why the first month of the year, January, was named after him. Right? On New Year's Day, the Romans would go on a procession to the top of Capitoline Hill, right? And isn't it funny how in America they've got a place called Capitol Hill, right? Because it's the same people, man. It's the same people, and their structures look exactly like Roman structures. How can you not see it? How can you not see it? Right? It says where priests would sacrifice a white bull to ask protection from the gods for the new year. Moreover, the high priest, the Pontifex Maximus, would offer to Janus a pie made of flour, cereals, cheese, eggs, and olive oil to invoke the god's benevolence. Right? So it's all to reverence this god with 2 heads. Right? That's what it's all to reverence. Right? And that's what they're serving. That's what you're serving when you keep New Year's Day. Right? Because the New Year doesn't begin then. It don't begin in the dead of winter. What's new in the dead of winter? What is new? Nothing's new. He's dead. There's no plant life. There's no plant life. There is plant life, but there's plant life that doesn't that can live on the harsh condition. Mm-hmm. But majority of plant life is not sustaining itself.
Most animals are hibernating.
As well, yeah. Exactly. Right? So the New Year doesn't begin until the spring, man. It don't begin until the spring. Right? So let's continue on. Right? So for us, New Year's Day, right, is when the Most High told us it is, right? Because he spoke to us, he spoke to the Israelites, right? So get Exodus 12, right, and read from verse 1 to verse 2.
Exodus chapter 12, and reading from verse 1, and it reads, And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
Right? It shall be the first month of the year to you. Right? And he was talking about the month Abib. Right? Abib. Right? And in that month, we were meant to keep the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and first fruits. And then after that, what would come is the Feast of Weeks, but that would go into the second month, right? Because you count 7 Sabbaths, right? 50 days. So that goes into the second month, right? That's what happens with it. But the first month, right, was Abib, and the Most High told us when the beginning of our months was. Right, he told us when the beginning of our months was. Right, and that's when he says, observe the month Abib. and keep the Passover. Right, and keep the Passover, and we know that the day after the Passover is when we keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Right, so that's our new year is in Abib, man. It's in the spring when things start to come to life again. When you start to see the trees bearing their leaves, start bearing fruit, and when you start to see that, that's a new beginning. Not in the dead of winter. That doesn't make sense. Right, and all they've done is they've sought to change things, right? So get Daniel 7 and verse 25.
Daniel chapter 7 and reading from verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hands until a time and times and the dividing of time.
Right, times, and dividing of times, right? And you see this, right? They sought to change times and laws, right? Sought to change times and laws. Because remember, at one point they were even saying that you can't keep Christmas, right? Which goes in line with the scriptures. It goes in line with the Father, and then they change that so that everybody can keep it, right? Then they've changed times. They've said, "Oh, New Year's not in spring anymore. It's in the dead of winter." It's in the dead of winter, and that's what they've done, right? And I don't know what was going on in Rome, because Rome just seemed to want to change everything. They seem to want to change everything, right? Because you can even let me actually show you the year that Rome had, right, when they changed it to 10 months, because just to show you that I'm not just saying this because I'm just spewing out nonsense. The Rome actually changed their year to 10 months, right? Yeah, because it was the founder of Rome that made the 10-month year, right? Which was Romulus. So let me bring it up. Hang on a second. Right, so this is on Wikipedia, right? So it says here, right, the legendary 10-month calendar, right? So it says the Romans themselves described their first organized year as one with 10 fixed months, each of 30 or 31 days, right? Such a decimal division fitted with general Roman practice. The 431 day months, March, May, Quintilis, and October, were called full, and others hollow. Its 304 days made up exactly 38 non-dinnal cycles. The system is said to usually have had six remaining 50 odd days of the year as unorganized, right? Because they were cutting off they were cutting off 2 months worth of days, right? As an unorganized winter. Although Licinius Mesa, Lost History, apparently stated the earliest Roman calendar employed intercalation instead. The Maccabeus claims the 10-month calendar was allowed to shift until the summer and winter months were completely misplaced, at which time additional days belonging to no month were simply inserted into the calendar until it seems things were restored to their proper place. Later Roman writers credited this calendar to Romulus. So like I said, it credited to Romulus. And you can have a look in these books. So it's got the what they call sources here, right? So you can have a look at that, right? But it says here later writers credited this calendar to Romulus, their legendary first king and culture hero. Although this was common with other practices and traditions whose origin had been lost to them, some scholars doubt the existence of this calendar at all, as it is only attested in the late Republican and imperial sources, supported only by the misplaced names of the month from September to December, because that's where they get it from. So obviously you got September, Sept, which means 7, October, which means 8, the 8th month, November, which is 9, and December meaning the 10th month, right, which was the end of the year, right? Because that was their that was the Roman names for those months, right? And it says Rupke also finds coincidence in the length of the supposed Romulan year with the length of the first 10 months of the Julian calendar to be suspicious, right? To be suspicious. So here's the calendar that they had, right? I remember there were cultures that predated Rome, or kingdoms that predated Rome that had a 12-month calendar. So what would make them change it to a 10-month calendar? Right, and that's what they did. They sought to change times and seasons, right? And instead of just following their own calendar, they wanted everybody to follow their calendar. And that's how you have everybody now with a Gregorian calendar following their pagan practices and their pagan ideologies. Why? Because in their calendar is deep rooted in their paganism.
Mm-hmm.
The same way our calendar is rooted in our culture and in our holy feast days that the Most High is given to us. Right? Their calendar is rooted in their pagan feast days, deeply rooted, and that's why when people are keeping these days, they are referencing these gods, man. Right? Their months are named after Roman gods. Right? So, and the days of the week, same thing, right? And it's all set up to keep us in the position that we are in, which is what we need to get out of. So we need to come out from this, man. That's what the scripture says: come out from among her and be ye separate and touch not the unclean thing, and then I will receive you. So if you want to be received by the Most High, you need to come out from this. You need to stop keeping Christmas, stop keeping New Year's, right? If you wanna remember New Year's and you wanna say Happy New Year, do it when the Most High said your New Year is. Do it when the Most High said your New Year is. Right? So on the new moon, right? On the first month, the first day of the first month, the new moon, celebrate then, because that's the holy feast day that the Most High made. That's the feast day the Most High made. Right, and on that day, say Happy New Year or Happy Abib. Right, because that's what the Most High made and created. Right. So that was a short live on Christmas and New Year's. I don't know if you wanted to say anything, Aldo, wanted to add anything onto it.
No. It was good. It was good. Yeah, it's really just to keep the understanding of what is right and what's wrong in the earth, because we are the kingdom of heaven. Every Israelite is the kingdom of heaven. Our job is to highlight what is of the Most High and what is not of the Most High. So every year, I know to us it's boring. To us it's what you call you're beating a dead horse. You know, we're talking. We know it, but what the reason why we have to keep doing this is because there'll be new people coming, whether they be Israelites or whether they be the heathen, because there's some heathen are going to cleave to the house of Israel,
right?
Okay? And they're going to keep our laws and our statutes, right? And the Most High is going to be gracious unto them because they're going to follow Him, right? But it's our job to bring in the kingdom of heaven. Messiah says, "Kingdom of heaven is within you." It's within you. It's not within anybody. It's within the children of Israel. So our job is to what you call highlight and bring forth the things of the Creator, because everything that's been brought into the earth up until now, right, the Most High has allowed the other nations to bring their things in because the children of Israel didn't do their job. So he said, okay, because you don't want to do your job, I'm going to allow the heathen to rule. And they're going to bring in all manner of madness until you wake up and until you return to me. And then our job now is to return to him, right? But to return to him, we can't return to him empty-handed. We got to start to say, well, no, these things are not right. What have been brought in? Yeah, our ancestors, they loved Grecian ways, or they loved Roman ways, or they cleaved to Babylonian ways. But that ain't the thing that the Creator wants in the earth. Our job is to highlight that and to propagate and to bring forth what He wants in the earth, which is the keeping of his feast days, the keeping of the law, statutes, commandments, the instructions of how to live here. That's what our job is. So everything that you've gone through, I mean, to us, this is, as I said, it's boring because we've done this already, right? And to us, it's like it's what you call it's common sense that these things are not right. To us, it's like a no-brainer to us. But as I said, everybody is not awake yet. Even all the Israelites are not awake yet, and even some of the heathen that are going to cleave to us are not awake. So every year we're going to bring this out, and because you're laying the foundation, you're laying the seeds.
True.
That's right.
And that's what it's about. But our real goal for us as the children of Israel, our goal is to build Zion. That's our goal. That's our first port of call is to build, right? Hoshua did a video. I don't know if you see the video where he was talking about Zion. He broke down in tears. Why? Because everybody's saying Happy Hanukkah, right? Which means Happy Feast of Dedication. But the real Feast of Dedication, right? There was no celebration until the temple was rededicated and the altar was rebuilt.
Yeah.
There was no real celebration until those things were done. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing as when they returned. We returned from Babylon, from the Medo-Persia. There's nothing that we can do, right? We can't look at our own lives and look at what we have right before the Most High's house. That has to be built first. So, and that's the point. So, although it's a happy occasion, or it's good. It's a feel good thing that the Most High has woken us up. But the reality is, His house is not built, so it's not really a time of
celebrating.
And we shouldn't really. That's not what. Yeah, we do that to honor the feast and whatever. But in reality, right? In reality, the house of the Most High isn't built. So even though Israelites want to party and do all that, really we should be in a state of mourning because the house of the Most High is still not built. It's not built. It's not even considered at this moment in time. Even the children of Israel ain't really considering it. Right? So that's where Hoshua's mind is. That's where the mind of all those who love the Creator, that's where their mind should be at. Their mind should be on the Tabernacle of David, Mount Zion. And what can we do? What can we say? What can we put out there to get Israelites to wake up? I know there's one and fews here and there that are waking up, saying that Zion is in Tel Arad, but they never really teach on it. They never really bring anything out on it. They never really expound on it. It's a passing thing. It's like a passing statement. But the problem is that is the heart of the Israelite nation. Zion is the heart of the Israelite nation. That literal place is where the cloud came down, man. The cloud came down. That hasn't happened nowhere on the planet where a cloud descended into a building. Where's that happened? Where and when and where and when has that happened in history? In any history? It hasn't. So I mean, if we don't get it, if we don't get it right now, the question is when are we going to get it? So the point is that all this what you're bringing out is very important. Don't get it twisted. It's very important for the nations to know this time is at an end. This time of them having rulership, them their dominion on earth, it's at an end. All of these things that they brought into the earth was in vain. It's going to be taken out the earth,
Mm-hmm.
right? But as for us, our job is to focus on Zion because that's the place the Creator chose. It's the only place He chose in the earth, and He chose that place. And guess where that place is? It's in the midst of the children of Israel. Right? So our job is to focus on that place and to get that place moving and get it built, right? By whatever means necessary, by whatever terms that we need to do to make that happen. That's where our spirit should be at, our mind and our efforts should be at. But at this moment in time, it's not really there. Yeah, there is a lot of this information going out, which is good. It's not wrong. Everybody's doing what they're doing within the spirit, which is put on them by the Creator. So I'm not gonna bash anybody. What I'm saying is, as for me, right? My focus is on Zion. You know, everybody has their role, their purpose. Eventually, though, the elect of the house of Israel their eyes are gonna turn towards Zion. Eventually, it's not gonna happen in my time. It's gonna happen in the Most High's time when everything is right and He's prepared everything. Then the elect's eyes are going to be turned to Zion. Our job is to push out that information out there and also push this information out so the nations know their time is over. They had their rulership. And what did Messiah say? Until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And then the other scripture says until the time of the Gentiles come in, right? Until it comes to its fulfillment or to its pinnacle, the time of its end. Right, and then our kingdom comes in, and that's where we are. We're at the end of their time, and we're coming into the time of Israel or Jacob's time, right? So this information we got to keep pushing it out there, keep pushing it out there, regardless of because we've heard it. We might hear it 1,000 times. We might hear it 1,000 times. Somebody's not heard it even once. So we got to keep pushing it out there. But it was good. It was good information. You know, there's a lot more obviously you could put in there, a lot more added onto that. But hey, it's pointless giving somebody somebody who can only eat a baby who can only eat half a plate. You can't put a full plate of food before them. You have to give them the half a plate until their belly is ready to receive the full plate. You know, and that's what it's all about. So, but no, it was good. It's good. It's good information. And sometimes, over time, certain things you don't go with certain things, and it becomes like dormant in your mind. So you don't really speak about it. But when you bring it up again, and you start to talk about it again, it refreshes your memory. So around this time when people start to speak to you, you can give them more information because that information has been renewed in your mind, and you can go, oh yeah, this is what it's about. This is why you shouldn't be keeping it. This is why it offends the Creator, and blah 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 blah. So it's all good. Everything that you brought out is all good. Yeah, and that really that's all I gotta say. With that, or my prayer is always that the Most High blesses the house of Israel. I pray that Israel had wherever you are, you had a blessed Sabbath, and I pray that the Most High walks with you wherever you are, that He gives you turns the hearts of your enemies, right, to have compassion on you wherever you are, and that He helps you wherever you are, Israelites wherever you are, who are sincere, right, helps you on this walk and this journey, because the scripture says, it's not a race, you have to endure. It's an endurance thing, right? Some people get dismayed and they lose their faith and they go run back into the world, but there's nothing in the world. Everything that they've brought in on the earth, as you said, what purpose do you get from it?
Nothing.
There's no purpose in it.
It's vanity.
It's just vanity. It's just vanity. It doesn't serve any purpose apart from apart from self-glory, carnality, serving carnal behavior, the body, the carnal body. It doesn't serve anything other than that, So yeah, so with that, I pray to the Most High that all who hear this get some enlightenment, get some knowledge, and wisdom, and that they come out from serving these false deities, these demons, these false Hellidays, which are making them worship devils. And you're not worshiping the Creator, you're worshiping devils. So all you're doing is bringing, especially the Israelites, you're bringing more curses, more problems to your life, and to your family's life when you keep these things. So I pray that Israelites get understanding. I pray that the heathen get understanding, because everybody's knee's going to bow at the end of the day. Every nation is going to bow at the end of the day, and the quicker they get to that understanding, the better it's going to be for them, So that's my prayer. That's my prayer for the house of Israel, that Most High, turns the heart of their enemies to give them compassion in the lands of their captivities, and that they stay fast, and that they have enough spiritual strength to endure this walk until Messiah returns. That's my prayer. Right. With that, I'm going to start a woman and let you continue, or what are we going to do?
Do you want to say anything, Mike?
That's it. That's all I want to say. Shalom, all praise to the Most High. Keep strong in this time. I know this time of year, everyone likes to act like it's all about fun, festivities, family. It's all about the children, but don't get drawn into it, because that's their ploy, and that's their devices. This time of year, they're gonna try and drag you into doing their rubbish at your workplace. They're gonna try and drag you into having meals. They're gonna lie to you and say it's not about Christmas when you know it's about Christmas. That's the only time of year you do this stuff. Then they're going to lie to you and try and get you involved in their foolish games and their secret Santa business. But you got to stay strong in this time, man. Prove ourselves to be holy. Prove ourselves to be different. Prove ourselves to be set apart. Because then when they see the Israelites waking up, when they see so many people denouncing Christmas and all that, they'll know that their money's coming to a shortage. Their money's going to start dwindling. And then they'll start making a change to come away from that. Because we shouldn't be keeping their festivals. The Most High has his own. And like we read at the beginning, we need to start researching those, getting into the mode where we're looking forward to, we're enjoying those celebrations, we're understanding those celebrations. Because the people who are celebrating their holidays don't even know why. They're just celebrating them because it's their family custom. And we need to understand our family customs. And that's why we need to learn it for ourselves, so we can teach our children. So when our children grow up, they know why they're keeping the Feast of Dedication. They know why they're keeping Passover. They know why they're keeping the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So, like I said, just stay away from these things at this time of year as much as possible, because it is possible. All it takes is a no. If people don't like you, that's good on them. As long as it's not affecting you being able to feed yourself and feed your family, the Most High understand. But the fact of the matter is, we need to cancel Christmas. We need to cancel Easter. We need to cancel Halloween. We need to cancel all these pagan holidays, including New Year's, because New Year's is one that people don't understand, man.
People don't think it's
a pagan holiday. They just think it's the start of a new year, and that everyone celebrates it. Even so much so that people who have their own calendar and have their own New Year still celebrate it. The Chinese, the Moabites, they've got a Chinese calendar. They've got a Chinese New Year. So why on earth would they be keeping Christmas? Why on earth would they be following the Gregorian calendar? Because it's been specifically made to keep everyone in sin and not following the Most High. So as much as possible, keep the Feast of the Most High and follow the Most High's calendar.
It's because we were scattered to the four corners of the earth. So they have to put their devices everywhere, so that wherever we are, their devices are there to keep us in sin. So that's why everywhere you go, they've got this stuff there, because the law wasn't given to every nation. It was given to us. So when we're saying it, the Most High is saying, "Well, I told you shouldn't have the names of other gods in your lips." And whatsoever, and he gave us over to that. Why? Because we were doing it anyway. because he told us not to say any other god's names or worship any other god, but we still went in amongst the nations and started to take on their customs and their cultures, and the Most High was like, okay, then have it then. And that's why now is a very important time to come out of that, because when the kingdom comes in, those days aren't days you're going to be keeping.
That's right.
Those days aren't days you're going to be keeping. You're going to be keeping the feast of the Creator, and that's what you're going to be keeping in the kingdom. And that's that is what is next. The kingdom of Idumea is done. The kingdom of Edom is finished. Right? And you can see it crumbling brick by brick, falling out of place. Right? They're barely keeping themselves up. Barely keeping themselves up. Right? But the kingdom to come next is the kingdom of the Creator. Right? Is the kingdom of the Creator. And if you want to be a part of that, you need to come out and separate yourself from the foolishness of this world. Right? From the foolishness of this world. Right? And because we're speaking about the gospel of the kingdom, right, and the kingdom that's to come in, right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20. Right?
Isaiah chapter 8 and reading from verse 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them.
Right, to the law and to the testimony, right, to the song of Moses and to the song of the Lamb, to Torah and to Messiah. If you're not speaking about both of these things, there's no light there. Why? Because you should have both of them. Right? You should be talking about Torah, you should be talking about Messiah. Without Torah, there's no order.
Without Messiah.
Right? Without Torah, there's no without Torah, there's no order. Without Messiah, there's no redemption. Right? Without Messiah, there's no redemption. You need both of them. Both go hand in hand. One without the other doesn't make sense. Right? Torah spoke of Messiah and Messiah spoke of Torah. You need both of them. They should be your foundation in this walk. And don't let nobody tell you different. Don't let nobody tell you different. Don't let anybody tell you the Messiah said the law's done away with, because he never said that. Right? Don't let nobody tell you that when he came to destroy the law. Right? That he came to die, and now you can just sin. Don't let nobody ever fool you into believing that, because when Messiah came, he kept the law. When Messiah came, he kept it. He kept it, right, to the T. Right? And anybody that's saying anything different, right? Anybody that's not not looking at the Song of Moses and the Song of the Lamb, people that aren't looking at Torah and Messiah, they're missing a big part of the puzzle, right? Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 3, right? 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 3, right? Read it.
But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost.
So if our gospel's hid, it's only hid to them that are lost. Either those that are lost right now and are going to find it in the future, right? Because some people they need to be in a certain condition or a certain way to get the understanding. Some people are going to have to go through harsh stuff to get the understanding. The same way Apostle Paul, right? Apostle Paul had to be knocked off a donkey and blinded to get the understanding, but he got it. Right, but it needs to be the right time and the right season, and the Most High knows the right time and the right season for people to know and get the understanding. Some people will get it easier. Some people will have to go through hardship to get it. Right, but it's only hid to those that are lost. Right, and then there's those that don't want to know and want to be lost and are comfortable in captivity, like my Ak likes to say, and they're comfortable where they are and they like being lost. And they like being lost. Why? Because finding their way home means they got to adhere to the commandments of the Creator, and that's what they don't want to do. And the problem is that the commandments of the Creator, right, all they are is instructions. And the same way, if you don't maintain something, it'll die. It's the same way if you don't maintain your existence on this earth by keeping His commandments, then you'll perish. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. So either keep the commandments, right? Keep the commandments, or he's death, or he's bye-bye. Right? So let's get Matthew chapter 24 and verse 14. Right? Matthew 24 and 14.
Matthew chapter 24 and reading from verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
Right, so the gospel of the kingdom is going to be preached in all the world. Right? Why? Because we were scattered to the four corners of the earth, so we're amongst all nations. So it needs to be preached there because we're everywhere. Right? But then it also needs to be preached to the nations. Why? To tell them to let us go. All right? Because we need to know to get ourselves ready and get ourselves prepared for the kingdom that's to come. But they need to know to let us go, because when the kingdom is starting to come in, which you can see happening now, right? They're gonna get destroyed for the stuff that they did to us, and the longer they keep us in this captivity, is the worse the punishment's gonna be. Is the worst punishment's gonna be, and we know they're gonna keep us until the end. We know that. We know that because the Most High has made it clear, man. He's made it clear that he's gonna have to come and he's gonna have to intervene, right? But until the gospel of the kingdom is preached everywhere, the end can't come yet. So we know it hasn't been preached everywhere because the end hasn't come. Right, but once that day comes, right, we know that the gospel of the kingdom has been preached in the whole world unto all nations, for a witness unto all nations. Right, then we know, right, that it's been preached everywhere. Why? Because the end's come. Right, let's get Matthew chapter 26, right, and we're going to read from verse 6.
Matthew chapter 26, and reading from verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much, and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, Why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached to the whole world, preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman hath done, be told for a memorial of her.
Right, so wherever the gospel of the kingdom is preached, right, we're always gonna memorialize this woman. Why? Because when the Messiah came, he didn't come speaking his own words. He came speaking the words of the Father that sent him. Right, and the Most High said that any words which he puts into his mouth, right, as per Deuteronomy 18 and 15, any words that he puts into his mouth that we don't listen to is going to be required of us. So I'm going to listen to the words he said. Why? Because when Messiah came, he said, I didn't come speaking my own words. I came speaking the words of him that sent me. So it's not the Messiah you're not listening to, it's the Father. And that's where the problem's going to lie, with the Father, because the Father isn't going to accept you not listening. That's just how it goes. He's the one that created it. He knows how the earth works. He knows how this existence works. So listen to him, right? And also he went through the tribulation, man. Messiah went through the tribulation. So why shouldn't we listen to him? He went through it first. And without him going through the tribulation first, we wouldn't have gotten out of our tribulation, right? Those days wouldn't have been cut short. So because of him, right, now the days of the tribulation are cut short. These days are cut short. So now we have a second chance, and we have a chance at redemption, right? So wherever we speak about the gospel of the kingdom, this memorial of this woman is going to be spoken of, right? So with that, we are going to say Shabbat Shalom. Check out our Facebook page, Israelite Apostolic Heritage, our website, IsraeliteHeritage.com. Check out our individual pages. I'm Eba Solomon. Our elder in the chat, Stakawa Shalama. I'm at Akwa behind me, Yardan Ben Yasharala. You can send us messages or whatever if you want to. Like and share this video. Subscribe to us if you haven't already. And whatsoever. Did you want to say anything, Elder?
No, just really Shabbat Shalom, all love, peace and blessings to the house of Israel. Wabati Walama. Right, and we got a live coming up tomorrow. So if you come in and you hear this live, tune in tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Zion, and the Abrahamic houses that they're building, and we're going to go through some topics, or go through that particular topic and get some understanding. We're going to have the Honourable Chief Hoshua Amoria with us. Most High willing, providing everything works out and there's no technical difficulties. Even if he's not with us, we're still going to be going through Zion and the so-called Abrahamic houses, and trying to get Israel to understand the importance of Zion, and for them not to be afraid. If they can make a pilgrimage, don't be afraid in this time. Don't be afraid. Don't worry about what people are saying. Don't worry about what's going on in the earth. Don't worry about what's happening in that land. Don't worry. That's not what you should be worried about. All you got to do is focus on the words of the Creator and just do what He says that we should do as a people. You know, once we start doing those things, then all we got to do is wait on Him. But we have to do what we have to do as a nation of people, right? So that's really just in closing. You know, we have a home, but we have to take the home. We have to take the kingdom. It's not going to be given to us. The nations ain't going to give it to us. In what I'm saying to you. Okay, it's there for the taking, but we have to take it. But to take it, there's specific things that we have to do as a nation of people. There's specific things that we have to do, right? We have to ignore everything else and do what the Creator says, do. Because once we do what He says, then He's obligated to do what He says He's going to do. That's the point, right? And with that, I'll say Shalom to the house of Israel. Amen, amen.
Amen. I say Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy. I hope you had a blessed rest and peace with the Most High. Keep your head in the book, keep your head in the scriptures, and remain strong. Endure unto the end, that we may actually rule over the nations, that this world may know peace. All praises to the Most High. And I'll say Shalom.
Shalom. So we're going to say Wabati Walama, Shabbat Shalom. All peace and blessings, and we're going to say all praises to Yahweh, Hashem, and Mashiach Yahushua. Amen and amen.
Amen.